processing or further processing, I could right click and add a group channel track. We'll make this a stereo, and we can give the track a name, and we'll just call this a dialogue bus. So if I wanted to see on my left-hand side here, when I select particular tracks, I can see all of my routing. I can see inserts, sends, my channel strip, or my fader directly here for each of the tracks. If I wanted to select the top one, I could see my routing. If I select all of these 8 mono tracks and want to assign it to my dialogue bus here, my dialogue group, at this point I hold down Alt or Option plus Shift, and now I could assign these all to the dialogue bus in one motion. If I wanted to add a reverb send, right click, add effects channel track. I can use any of my available plugins on my system, any of my VST plugins. And if I want my convolution reverb, I can now access that, select a track. I could now activate the send, say I want to send it to my reference and my send amount right there. Now, if this is all set up and it's something that I may want to use as a starting off point, I could save this as a template. So I'll go to File, to Save as Template, and we'll call this Studio Start. And we'll hit OK. So now when we want to start a new project, we could just start off from our template. And that's accessible directly from our Steinberg hub. So if I want to do recording, we may notice that there's a couple preferences that could throw people off sometimes. And one of them is, you may notice that as I select different channels here, that it's automatically record enabled. So we may want to decouple that. And if we go to our preferences, and then if we go to editing and choose project and mix console, there's a preference here that says enable record on selected audio tracks or MIDI tracks. So if we turn those off and hit OK, we can now select the track without it being armed for record. If I wanted to arm all the particular tracks for record, I could also, and if they're in a folder, I could just arm the folder itself. Now, one of the concepts that we'll see that's very easy to get aware of in the Steinberg products is kind of using your left and right locators as kind of your default locators. And we could have these tied to our punch in and punch out. So if we want to adjust our left and right locators, we could do it directly here. And we'll see we have punch in and punch out. And we could also just use the I and O for I for in, O for out. And as we play, we'll see that it will just automatically punch in directly on those tracks and then punch out. Now, if I wanted to kind of just manually record tracks, and do some more. So let's say as I do this, now there's a couple of transport functions to be aware of. So you may notice that if I start my play position right here and hit the spacebar to play, then I hit the spacebar to stop, that's going to jump back to where I started it. And if I wanted it to continue on instead, I could go to my preferences, and under transport, we will choose to uncheck return to start position on stop. So now when I hit the spacebar, it'll just continue on from that moment in time. One other transport preference that's very handy is to enable locating while selecting an empty space. So if I just wanted to start from right here or from right there, we could just double click and then we could just locate the playhead position directly from that event. One other preference that's handy to be aware of is under editing to track selection follows event selection. So one of the powerful things you could do inside of Nuendo is to have the inspector visible here. So I could do this by track, but if I wanted to just select the track based on the event that I select, this way the selection automatically follows whatever is selected itself. If you want to have access and to see the different files, you could do this in the pool window, which is a collection of all the audio files and media files that are used in a particular project. So if we go to your media menu, choose open pool window, we could expand the audio menu. We could see all the different files with their different timestamps and other information. Now, if I move a file and I wanted to place it at its timestamp position, I could right click and just go to move to origin. Or if I wanted to find a particular file in the pool, I could select it and go to my audio menu and say find selected file in pool, and it automatically opens it up. And if I needed to use that file elsewhere, I could just drag and drop. So as you can see, getting Nuendo 7 set up for your production needs is incredibly simple and leads to very powerful and flexible results for your production.